for people to achieve three things: self-determination, self-respect, and self-defense. Self-determination, control the space we occupy.
That's it.
Self-respect, to insist on respect from the world, to walk in dignity in the world, and to not do anything to ourselves nor allow anybody to do anything to us that would violate our special status as bearers of dignity and divinity.
Come on, come on.
Self-defense, however you read that. It's in that context that we sit here and we come to meet and talk about preparing our children and our people for a future worthy of the name and history Africa. This challenge then can be summed up this way: to know the past and honor it, to engage the present and improve it,
All right.
and to imagine the future and forge it.
Okay, come on.
And so as we meet, it seems to me that if we're going to talk about education, ethics, and ethos, we must first of all recognize that it's an interrelated order of not only teaching and learning, but also, and most important, of practice. When we talk about education, we're talking about knowledge, the discovery, the creation, the transmission, and the application of knowledge. When we talk about ethics, we talk about issues of right and wrong, good and evil, and obligation to ourselves, others, in the world. And when we talk about ethos, we're talking about distinguishing characteristics that aid us not only in terms of understanding and asserting ourselves in the world, but also introducing ourselves to history and humanity. How should we introduce ourselves to history and humanity? How do we understand ourselves? We say we can only do that in the context of culture.
All right.
We're culture nationalists.
That's right.
That's right.
We're the ones who said that the key crisis in black life is the cultural crisis. And that until we break the monopoly that the president has on our mind, liberation is not only possible, it's unthinkable. And that until we ourselves rescue, recover, and reconstruct our culture and use it as a foundation and framework for enriching and expanding our lives, we will always be small people with big grudges and unable to imagine a world beyond where we live. It is important for us to see ourselves as world historical people.
That's right.
It's important for us to teach our culture. When we talk about the 7 principles, we're talking about culture. When we talk about how to marry, we talk about how to create a just and good society. We say in Karenga, in our organization, and Karenga is my philosophy out of which I created both Kwanzaa and the 7 principles. In Karenga we say one of the most important things, in fact the first thing that we all should do, is the dialogue with our culture. To ask the questions and seek from them answers to the fundamental concerns and issues of humankind. How do we create a just and good society? How do we raise our children? How do we marry? How do we create strong male-female relationships and build family? How do we establish and maintain a rightful relationship with the environment? If you are teaching a class and you don't have an African answer, you're going to Europe or somewhere else.
That's right.
We don't usually ask Africa these fundamental questions. Rescue me if I'm wrong. We might ask Europe or Israel or Arabia. We don't usually ask Africa these questions. Did I make a mistake here that I turned wrong? Oh, boys, no. We might ask Africa how to dance. And when we're not wearing grass skirts, we might ask them how to dress. And the grass skirt, you know, is a diminished conception of yourself.
That's it.
All this kind of clothes we got, ain't no business nobody be dancing in grass skirts. But that's how they say them. That's how they see themselves. You talk classical African civilization, but then you do village practices. It's like the United States. in the world, and it goes to the Ozarks. It doesn't mean that the Ozarks are not there. It doesn't mean when you present yourself to the world, you present excellence. You present your highest paradigm of human possibility and human achievement.
Come on.
And so we study classical culture, and we introduced that. And we called together in 1984. Asa was there, Naeem, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, us organization, called together the movement to build ASCAP, to build a movement to study classical African civilization. We did the same thing for Yoruba civilization. And we organized around and created a discord in the Husea and introduced the concept of life as a fundamental way of understanding our rightness and the interrelated order of rightness in the world on three levels: the divine, the natural, and the social. Interrelated order of rightness, of good. And we have to be in right relationship with the divine, with the nature, and with each other.
That's right.
We have to do that.
That's right.
In the same, we created a dialogue in the Yoruba with the Odu Ifa. Because we argued that, one of the most wonderful, one important ways we can understand ourselves is in spiritual and ethical ways. It's what we do, whether we speak truth and do justice. See, we can't just go by color. Even in the 60s, we used to say that dog white. So what distinguishes you as an African? Black is color culture and self-conscious practice.
That's it.
What's your culture like, black person? We know you, dog. We see you. How do you walk as African woman and man in the world? How do you teach young women to be African women in the world? Not just to restrict them, but to tell them how to be expansive in the world. How to answer the questions that come to them from an African standpoint.
That's right.
And so we say, black people, we need a value system. We argue that we must have a value system that unites us. And now over 28 million people celebrate the holiday, but even more millions use the 7 principles to build all kinds of organizations: educational organizations, independent schools, rights and passage program, economic cooperative, political caucus, religious caucus, black student union. This unites us, black people. We put it in the Million Man March mission statement. Million Man March Day of Action mission statement. We'll put it in this one coming out, because that unites us in ways nothing else does. Hold fast to these values. Keep them safe, that Odu said. And when those to whom they belong, ask for them, your children. Give it to them. For goodness lies in not keeping things for yourself, but sharing the good you know is real. Share it with your children. Write it in their books. Put it in their mind. Root it in their hearts. Say it to them every day. Sing it to them. Write songs for it. Write poems for it. Sing it to them. Let's talk about these principles that we talk so much about. I start with emoji. And all y'all know why I do Swahili, because it's a Pan-African language. I don't want to choose Yoruba or Zulu, because it's identified strictly with the ethnic group. But Swahili is the most widely spread African language in Africa. And so we start with emoji, unity. Start with unity because what? Even if you build your school, even if you build a family, if you don't have unity, first of all, you can't even build. Let me back up. You can't even build a family. You can't build a school if you don't have minimum unity.
That's right.
And I end it with faith, because even as unity is indispensable to building a project, without faith you can't sustain it. What is this thing about unity? Striving for and maintaining unity in the family, community, nation, and race. The explanation said. Notice how the principles require activity. Striving, maintaining, struggling, building, creating. You notice that? We have to be active in the world. It reminds me of the ancient Egyptian creative myth. In the beginning, before the beginning.
That's right.
There only existed this infinite ocean of unlimited possibilities. And that was Ra, in himself and of himself. He was not being. He was just statically existing. And then a spark struck in his mind, and he comes to consciousness, and he moves, and he